All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the July 1st, 2025 Fort Worth Astronomical Society Astrophotography Special Interest Group meeting. Today's speaker will be Bob Circus. Bob is going to be talking to us about how we're going to be using the Noble Observatory Automation Project. And because this is a meeting during the week of a holiday, hopefully this meeting won't be too long so everybody can get back to their families and hopefully off to an early start for the holiday weekend. So, without further ado, Bob, go ahead.
Thank you. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about the Noble Observatory Automation Project and the current status and what's going on in the near future. And I do mean near future. So the current status of the project is that the weather station is installed. If you go to this website here, hopefully this works, and you get weather rising star, it gets updated every 20 seconds. So this is from the weather station. And these two widgets down here are courtesy of Jim McCatherine, and they're really cool, especially when there are thunderstorms, because you can see the little explosions going off all over the place. That's pretty slick. So anyway, you can go out there, you can get real-time weather. This is the weather as it is right now. It says it's unsafe to open the dome right now because the sun is out. It's also cloudy. So anyway, so there's that part. If I go back to here, the image train is completed, and I'll talk about that in a minute. The cable management is about 90% complete. So everything from the OTA down to the computer and the power station is done. The cable management from the network over to the pier is not. And I'm waiting on to complete that. I need to order something called a puzzle mat, and I'll finish that up when I order that. Take a couple of days. The next dome automation equipment is supposed to ship today. I haven't received anything, and as we all know, um, I've got the patience of a clam. So anyway, so and the automation equipment is the rotation, the new dome rotator, and the new shutter and shutter dome. So if it ships this week, hopefully it's here somewhere around the 18th, and it'll be on the 19th. And I've got some work change activity going on in the background. And the access and scheduling procedures are in development now. Let me put this and I'll talk about them in a few minutes. And interrupt with questions. And if I like the question, I'll answer. And if I won't, I won't. So I got. Okay. So I'm sure we've all seen this before, but here's the image train. It's in a 2.2 meter dome. It's a Celestron Raza 8, the 183 MC Pro. We might upgrade that. It's the guide scope is an SV Bony 60 millimeter with a ASI 120 mini on it. It's an EAF focuser, CEM 60 mount. It's a great mount. High performance pier. All that means is I can probably crack my head on that until it splits open and nothing going to happen to the pier. have a Mealy 3 fanless computer on there. I'm going to guess that probably in the next 6 months or so, I'll probably replace that with a fanned mini computer. It gets pretty hot in there. For capture, we're going to use Nina. Guiding is PhD2, SharpCat for remote astronomy. And while Stellarium is there on that computer, it's not going to be used. I may actually remove it. There's an internet camera that we'll use to see what's going on inside the mount. What's not shown here is we have a flat panel cover for the Raza, so we can take flats when we need to. Those will be done maybe twice a year, but it also fits snugly over there, and we can close off we can shutter the telescope. And we have a dust cover for the guide scope also. Also not shown is the Sky Alert. It is a very small device. It's attached to the power station just outside of the dome. I think it's about 4 by 4 by 6, pretty small device. So data storage, I know this is of import to everybody, and I got kind of
Bob,
things a little
before you
yeah,
get there, what does the Sky Alert do?
that's the weather station.
Okay, and I take it, I was,
It
for some reason, I thought the weather station was already installed.
it is installed. It's just not shown here.
Ah, okay, got it.
It's what generates this.
All right.
Okay. So yeah, this really doesn't belong here. So uh, anyway, but the OTA is polar aligned within 1 arc second. We're going to have to rebalance and realign here, and as long as Peter Tijerina is not around, one arc second will work. Guiding is to 0.12 RMS. That's the highest I've seen it. It's been between 0.09 and 1.2. It's pretty good. And we're going to use Nina for image capture. The data, the physical data at the moment is going to be stored at the Rising Star Observing Area data center. And we actually do have a data center out there. It's not very big, but it's pretty sophisticated. So we are running a Windows server, and we're running 2 Linux servers. And at the moment, we have 2 terabytes of SSD storage for our image capture. I know that's not a lot. We're looking at upgrading that to some large scale storage, 18, 20 terabyte that we'll put somewhere probably not at Rising Star. And it will be unlike the data at Rising Star, it'll be accessible 24 by 7 by 365. So data access. So at the moment, when we're getting data off of Rising Star, you'll only be able to access it during daylight hours, non-dark hours. Our bandwidth out there is it's not really very fast. And so we're going to be using that bandwidth at night when we're imaging or whatever. So I've done some testing, and I've gotten, I want to say I get about 3 gigabytes an hour off the server out there. So it's not too terribly bad, but it's not the greatest either. So we're going to sort through that and come up with a better mechanism. So when you finish your image process, you'll get an email with instructions on how to download your data. The data will be contained in a single compressed file. We're going to use 7-zip. It's the best compression tool in the market. It's a free tool. And so you're going to need that. So what is the data set going to contain? It'll contain a directory with the image data that you took for your session. It'll contain a directory with the calibration data, and the image data will be FITS files. I've gone back and forth about whether or not it should be compressed FITS or XISF. But it'll just be native FITS files because, well, picks and sites are really great. And it can deal with FITS, and XISF, it cannot deal with compressed FITS, and that's a shame because when Nina generates compressed FITS, it saves about anywhere from 40 to 60% on the fit size. So anyway, so you'll get that. You'll get a directory with the calibration frame. So that's the master bias, the darks, bad pixel map, flats, flat darks. And you'll get either AstroPixel processor generated FITS files or PixInsight XISF files for folks that are using either or. And you'll get a directory with your stacked results. So what we're going to do is when you're finished with your session, we're going to go ahead and stack the results. So while your post processor that you like, whether it's an AstroPixel processor or PixInsight, is doing its thing in the background, you can have a look and see what what your image looks like. So I took this idea from a telescope and I like it. So whether you want it or not, you're going to get it. And please ask questions if you have any. So scheduling. So the scheduling website is under construction. You will have individual logins. You will have to have Discord. So if you're not on our Discord now, you'll want to get on it. The reason why we want to use Discord is we'll be sending messages to Discord as we go through the imaging sequence. I don't want to be in the business. It's a federated user authority. I don't want to be in the business of maintaining user ID and password. So anyway, so that's why you'll need a Discord account. We're building a very simple and intuitive graphical interface. You will not need to remote into to the Nina box. You won't touch Nina. So your framing and sequence generation will be via Telescopius. I'm working with the developer from Telescopius to be able to take your sequence that you generate from Telescopius and push it right into Nina. So, and that'll be all automated. The image capture is going to be fully automated. We're going to be using the Nina Target Scheduler plugin. So there's no need to create a sequence. The sequence will be looking at safe and unsafe conditions for weather, power loss, and network loss. So in any of these unsafe conditions, the shutter is going to close. And we've tested, Jim and I have tested thoroughly the safe and unsafe conditions for weather on his dome, and it's bloody awesome. And so we do the plugins for the power and the network loss, no big deal. And the reason for doing that simply is if we lose power or we lose the network, we lose control of the site. So we just want to shut everything down. It's just a safe thing to do. Any questions so far? Okay, hang on, let me move this away here. So I'm going to talk about, I just want to move this out of the way.
Actually, Bob,
Yeah,
I do I do have a question for you. With
sure.
respect to the individual logins, I take it we will go to Discord, and there'll be some means for logging in using the Discord application.
No, you'll go to, and we haven't, Peter and I haven't figured out. It's probably going to be rsoa.fortworthastro.com. And you will use your Discord credentials to log into that website. That website's going to be scheduling, and from there you'll go to Telescopius, create your sequence, and save it, and then they can get plugged in to your Nina session at the appropriate time. Um, so, and when the session is running, you'll be able to see what's going on. If you're familiar with what Glenn Frazier has done, it's going to have that kind of a look and feel. But again, you will have no need, and you won't be able to log into uh, the imaging device that's in the Noble. But you'll be able to see everything that's going on. It's going to be, I think, pretty slick.
So, real quick, Robert, I just posted in the chat another website that uses Discord to log in is Light Bucket. So, Stephen, it would
Yeah,
look something like this, and there'll be a button that says log in for Discord, and you just click that button. And if you're already in Discord, it takes you automatically into the site and logs you in. So, I'm sure that's what Robert's talking about.
Perfect. That's exactly what I was
yeah,
wanting to know. Thank
yeah.
you.
No. Okay. So the rules of the road. Um, okay. During a new moon, was the club is going to be imaging. We are on the night of a new moon. That's strictly for FWAS. And what we're going to do for the APSIG group, we will coalesce on 5 objects a month to image. And at the general meeting the month before. So for August, we'll do this at the July meeting. We'll put the 5 objects the club we recommend that the club uh, images that month, and then at the meeting the club will choose 3. I think it's important to get participation from non-imaging members. We're just going to kind of steer them in the way, we'll give them some choices, and they can choose. That helps get the buy-in that we need from non-imagers and until my next big project is approved and completed. So anyway, so during the new moon, we will be imaging our club selected objects. And then whenever there is open time, in other words, when members haven't scheduled time, we'll be imaging club selected objects. For members to be able to use the Noble, you'll have to be trained and signed off before use. So you're going to get an understanding of this is the dome, this is what's in it, this is how it works, this is how, we're going to give you some basic understanding of Nina and that kind of jazz. You'll be able to schedule time 2 weeks in advance at a max of 2 sessions per week. And I think at the beginning, when you schedule a session, you'll be able to schedule up to the whole night. As things get busier and more people want to use it, then I envision that instead of an 8-hour max window, you may get 4 hours. I don't know. It really is going to depend on dependent on use. Session can be rescheduled for an outreach event. So, for example, if you have a schedule or a session scheduled on September the 19th of 2025, it's going to get bounced because we are going to be doing our remote event for Cook Children's Medical Center on the 19th. The data is owned by FLAWS. Anybody can grab any of the data and process it. And then all images must be attributed to FLAWS. Stephen is going to talk to us about that here shortly. Any questions so far?
Bob, what's the advantage of using a Discord login and Discord security to go with it?
Because I don't have to worry about writing code in the
Okay.
website to manage logons. That's why.
Okay.
And as the principal developer, engineer, it's my decision to make.
Sure. So
And-
Discord offer a service. You can buy their security credential.
Pardon?
So Discord offers a service where you can buy their security.
Yeah, it's free. It's just like logging in with Google or logging in with Facebook or whatever. Just trying to keep it as simple as possible. Discord will work. And again, we're going to be publishing messages to Discord as we're doing sequences.
Right.
So,
And again, for security, Bob, just because I've got a Discord account doesn't necessarily mean I'm a member, right, of the Fort
oh
Worth.
no, we're going to verify when you register. We will verify that you're an active member. We'll check Night Sky Network. We'll check with Maru. And if you're not a member, you won't get a login.
Okay.
So yeah.
You can think
Good
of
question.
Discord as the front gate. It lets
Yeah.
you onto the property, but then Robert can choose what you can do after that.
I see.
Well, I mean, if you're not authorized to the website, it doesn't matter if you have Discord. In order for you to be authorized to the website, you have to be a member in good standing, and you have to have a Discord account. If you don't have either, you're not going to get in. Or if you don't have both, excuse me. So,
This is Richard. I have a general question about since we're talking about rules and the clubs currently looking at bylaws and things like that. How are rules going to be established going forward for the Noble Observatory? Is there going to be like a committee, team that helps set rules in the future?
right now it's a committee of one. So, and I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I imagine in the future there will be a Noble Observatory committee, but at the moment it's committee of one. So, but I fully expect there'll be some group of people that will manage the rules. The rules are not going to be part of the bylaws. These things are operational type things. So if we put them in the bylaws, and it becomes very challenging to get them changed when we need them. And as we get started, they're probably going to change. You know, we'll come up with something that says, "Oh, we didn't think about that. We need to put it in play." So.
Yeah, and I think this is a good point. We need to start somewhere, and we need one person with knowledge and the skill and the data set to roll this out. And then afterwards, we can do some tweaking. So, for example, if we just, normally you can't participate in a club meeting unless you're a member. But as we all know, guests can attend with a member, right? So we'll work on all of that, at a later time. Right now, we just want to get it up and running, functioning. And then if at some point we want to have an opportunity for a guest to, look at the data or download the data, that will be a decision down the line. But right now, we just need to get it up and running in an organized fashion, in a secure fashion, so that members and APSIG people who are very interested in using the data can get it without having to wait 6 months for a committee to approve all of the aspects. I mean, we know, I mean, I don't know, Richard, if you know this, but our bylaw committee, that thing started almost 2 years ago, and we're only just now getting to the point of it being brought to the membership for a vote. This is why, one of the reasons why I'm in favor of having Bob come up with a definitive solution. Let's all test it out. And then after we test it out, then yeah, I mean, maybe we can come up with, a 3 or 4 or 5 person committee who will, make adjustments and tweaks, et cetera, as time goes on. But this requires specialized knowledge. This requires somebody with skill. Bob has both the desire to do it, thank you, Bob, and the skill set to do it. Thank you, Bob. So once we get it up and running, yes, there'll be some changes probably, but everything I'm seeing makes perfect sense to me.
Well, yeah, I agree with that, but it looks like we've gone a little bit further, and I certainly appreciate Bob's work and effort and anyone else that's done this. But by the fact that we've got the last bullet point in there discussing rules, I think that's gone beyond just setting it up and making sure it works.
Got to start with rules somewhere.
Well, I agree, but the fact that we have rules and there are various constraints on using the observatory, we've gone beyond just setting it up.
Richard, I understand exactly what you're saying. We are a club, and the club bylaws actually say that all members will have access to all, of the club's equipment. So I get where you're coming from, and I do appreciate that. These are the initial rules that we're going to be following for now. And as soon as, we get this thing up and running and we beta test it and can see, yes, this is working and it's working the way we intended it to, I fully expect that, the club president or somebody from the board will appoint a group of volunteers to review some of these things so that it truly reflects the interests of the group. I mean, a couple of these are no-brainers, right? I mean, so for example, the data itself, that's a matter of copyright law. That is the data itself is owned by the Fort Worth Astronomical Society. And therefore, because it's the Fort Worth Astronomical Society's real estate, it's their dome, it's their telescope, it's their camera, people who process that data will have to attribute that data to the Fort Worth Astronomical Society, just like we do for if we process data from James Webb, just like we do when we process data from Hubble. We have to give proper attribution to those organizations, and our organization is very similar. So those data points are pretty clear cut. We have to get proper attribution. other things like when uh, are we going to be imaging, training and scheduling and sessions per week. All of that stuff will be fleshed out at a later time, but we need to at least test this. And for now, I think this is a good way to test it. And then we can come back to the membership after we've tested it and say, hey, this is or is not working the way we intended. Um, that's when we're going to need people like you, Richard, and everyone else to tell us, hey, this rule isn't so great, or we do like this rule, but not that one, and we'd like to open it up for this. All of that will be coming. For now, though, we have to have some procedures put in place, and those procedures are, you know, they're not going to be forever. These procedures are just to allow us to test this thing and see if we can make it work, right?
Well, yeah, like I said, uh, this is a great start. I understand that we're going to need some guide rails around this process, and we don't want people getting in there that don't know what they're doing. I have absolutely no issues with that. But as is pointed out, this is definitely, I believe, club property or club uh, equipment, and therefore any restrictions placed around that should be approved by all the membership.
And I believe that. Uh, well, let me think about that. I'd have to look at the at the uh, bylaws to remember exactly what they say about that. I mean, for example, the club owns a number of telescopes, and I don't know if we have a policy in place on how those telescopes are loaned out, or if those were approved by all of the membership or not. I don't know the answer to that one.
Yeah, that's in the bylaw. So that's what we're reviewing right now, I think, for the next meeting to vote on.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
all right. I'll take another look at that because I don't remember that off the top of my head, Richard.
Yeah. And I apologize. I'm not certainly don't want to derail this. So I think my points have been made. So I'm fine with moving on.
Richard, I greatly appreciate your points. And that's why we're having this meeting, in part to hear from everybody. And I don't want anybody to feel like they don't have the ability to ask a question or to question a rule. In fact, I want you to question a rule. That way, we can take a good hard look at it and analyze it and decide, gee, maybe you're right. Maybe the bylaws say something that's inconsistent with this. If that's true, I want to know it. And I can't remember everything. So it's important for people like you, Richard, and others, and anyone participating to let us know so that when we roll this out, if there's something that we're not doing that is incorrect, Richard, your input will help us do it right. And that's what we want to do.
Right. And I appreciate this is new ground we're covering, and certainly um, all the various aspects of it are going to get reviewed. And like I said, that's all I wanted to get out.
And I appreciate that. Thank you, Richard.
Is there anything here that you don't like?
Yeah.
Anybody?
I think it looks like a good start, Robert.
The one thing, Bob, I'll bet you does get adjusted is bullet number 3, schedule 2 weeks in advance. With weather and clouds and stuff like that, I'll bet you even if we schedule 2 weeks in advance, sometimes that gets pushed out further. And then maybe there'll be other times when nobody's got anything scheduled for a specific night, at which point,
Oh, okay.
I might say, hey, nobody's using it tonight. Can I use it?
That that's really bad wording on my point. That's really meant to say, you can't, you have to be inside of 2 weeks. You can't, I can't schedule today for the 25th of October. That's just not right. So what that's meant to be, you know,
You have to schedule your time within the next 2 weeks.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I read it the other way too.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
that's all right.
Yeah, um,
Good question, Stephen.
yeah. So, I mean, we can definitely wordsmith that and probably put an example, but that's what the intent was. And I mean, the intent is, right, yeah. You have to be inside the 2 week zone. If you look up there and, oh, all of a sudden you want to image the helix tonight from 8 to 10 and there's time available from 8 to 10, please, by all means. My goal is to see this equipment used between nautical sunset and nautical dawn, every day, weather permitting, and of course, moon permitting. So, if it's sitting idle, then, that's not the greatest thing, I think. So, I'm sorry about that. That's a good catch on that.
And then, I mean, I probably consistent with that is the limitation of 2 sessions per week. Again, if no one's using it and I want another 6 hours on my image of the helix, I mean, why not let me use it?
Well, I think you cannot schedule more than 2 sessions a week. If you get on there on a daily basis and there's time available, knock yourself out.
Okay.
That's what the intent is.
Okay.
So we don't want you scheduling, 6 months away, and and then we don't want you scheduling
You don't want someone grabbing 3 straight
The
nights
whole,
or something.
yeah, the whole week.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
That makes
preventing others who are patiently waiting in line, we
Yeah.
don't want them to be excluded. But
Right. And then there are other rules to think about too. Um, if someone wants to schedule time and they can't because Bob Circus has scheduled time, but he scheduled a lot of time lately. Well, maybe Bob Circus's time can be throttled back, and the other. It's just because it's first come, first serve, but I also want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to use the equipment.
Got to be some fair use. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I might want to think about Robert. I mean, when you say schedule a session, is that session 2 hours? Is that session all night? Is it dawn to dusk? Think about that.
The intent there is you can schedule an hour or you can schedule the night.
Okay.
Right now, right? If it starts to be used a lot, then we'll have to visit that. And, well, I think the minimum should be 4 hours because really you can't.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but, in the beginning, there's only going to be basically it'll be just the APSIG group, I think. And my hope is that as this is used more and more, people will get more people interested in astrophotography. They're not going to have to go out to the dark side to do stuff. And the other thing to keep in mind is we're also going to be using this newer outreach or live streaming. So anyway, so there, it's like an onion. It's
A lot of layers.
yeah. So I will take I'll have a takeaway to wordsmith the schedule 2 weeks in advance in 2 sessions per week with an example.
that'll be
Yeah.
very useful because I think people, if people will read this or something similar to it, and then we don't want anybody to draw incorrect conclusions.
Yeah.
Even though this is sort of just our our, I don't know if it's even a beta project. Right now, it's just an alpha project, right? We're just talking it through. We don't even have all the equipment in place yet, but we want everybody to understand our intent here is we need to test it, and then once we've got it tested, then we're gonna be looking for ways to improve it and make sure we're in compliance with our bylaws, because again, we have to follow the bylaws. There's no doubt about that.
Yep. Any other thoughts? Questions? Because I think that's the last slide. It is.
Okay.
So,
Thanks for all your work on this, Robert.
oh, you're welcome. Glad to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. It wouldn't happen without you, Robert.
I'm really enthusiastic about the Nina safe, unsafe aspect of this, and the fact that we're going to have the ability to, save the equipment, so to speak, with the weather station. Have you been monitoring that, Bob? Is it working well?
Yeah, the way our general sequence works is it starts up and doesn't open anything up until it's safe. So if you start your session up and it's sunlight, it's not going to open the dome until there's no sunlight. If we detect an unsafe condition, and typically what we really should be detecting first from a weather perspective is what? Clouds, right? We should be detecting clouds before we get rain. So when we get clouds, then, in our case, the shutter is going to close. We don't have to do anything other than close the shutter and park the scope. In Jim's situation, we have to park the scope and then we have to set it to home. Actually, we have to set the scope to home, close the flip flap, then park the scope, then close the dome. But in our case, all we're going to have to do is close the shutter. And then what happens? It just sits there and waits. And then it says, oh, okay, now I'm safe. I'm going to wait another 5 minutes because Mother Nature, she likes to mess with everybody. So in 5 minutes time, if the weather is still safe, the dome opens and the sequencing picks up right where it left off. It is freaking awesome. We have tested it 16 different ways from Sunday on Jim's device. And it's just, it's pretty cool. And I'll tell you about when we first did this, we're like, okay, start the sequence. And we're out there, Jim's watching from his house, and I'm out there at Rising Star watching, and the damn clamshell is not opening. And I'm like, what the F is going on? Oh, it's because the sun was still up. So not safe when the sun's up. So it's pretty slick. So we know it works for the weather. We're going to get some UPS devices that will indicate when power is lost. And when that happens, that'll be considered an unsafe condition and we'll close everything up. And the same thing with the network loss. I've got a little app that tests, and if we lose the network, it'll indicate that it's unsafe and close everything up. So,
all right. So Bob, what kind of computer is operating the Nina safe, unsafe conditions? Because as I have learned recently, my little computer, my Eagle 5, if it fails and Nina goes down, everything goes down, and then I've got to reboot everything. And because my telescope mount assumes the last position it was in is the new home position, I've got to make that adjustment also. So that's why I'm asking this question. So if for some reason my mini PC operating my telescope with Nina, for some reason, if there's a glitch and it fails,
Uh-huh.
what then?
Well, we log on to, hang on. I'm gonna get out of this. And you all can see my screen still, right?
Yes, sir, we
Yeah.
can.
Okay.
I can tell you right now that my Starfront rig has been running for 3 months now, and I've rebooted the PC once. It's just a little Melee Quieter 4. I have not had a single failure drop out from Nina or anything. So it just depends on the computer you have. And I made sure and tuned it up to where there's nothing running on that computer but Astro. I even removed a lot of the Windows stuff. We can talk about the Eagle later. I've got some information for you that's going to make you very upset you bought one. But
Yeah. All right. Well, I can't wait to hear that.
yeah,
Okay.
they're not very highly regarded in the community that I'm at. But like I said, I have not had a problem with mine runs 24/7, even out. It was the highest I'd have ever seen the ambient temperature in the observatory, I think, was 42 Celsius, and it runs not a problem. So I think as long as we get the machine going and we reboot it once a month and don't let Windows updates happen, they're pretty solid and they will run, especially with a UPS on them.
Well,
is that what
that's
we
not
have?
how this system's gonna work.
Oh, well, first of all, what kind of computer?
I have a Mealy 3 fanless. And it's a I don't know, $170 computer. Um,
I've got the
yeah,
version 4 of that. They're great.
yeah, okay. Let me finish, please. So in the temperature inside the Noble, when it is closed, gets to 120 easy in the summertime. I mean, I've been in it, I've worked, it's pretty bad. So it's a fanless computer, so it will take a beating. So the way the sequence works is at a certain time, uh, this is our digital logger. It's our power distribution system. So at the appropriate
We're
time,
just seeing your PowerPoint right now, Robert.
oh, you're just seeing this. Well, I guess that's a problem. Stop share. Okay, so we use digital logging equipment to manage the power distribution in the dome. So at the end of a session, after the data is sent up to the server in the astronomy building, the power is going to be shut off. This is not being a green thing. I just don't believe in the weather. The equipment should be left on. Just don't. And so when we start let's say an hour before, um, let's say sunsets at 7 o'clock, at 6 o'clock, the power is turned on the computer, and which is this here, and then the computer actually just boots up from power on, and then we turn on all the other equipment, and when the computer is up, we send a command that starts the sequence. So in the use case that you're talking about, Stephen, let's say it's in the middle of a sequence and the computer just bleh, right? So all we have to do to restart it is we we can log into the digital logger and just click here and it'll start the computer. So don't have to be there to physically turn it off and on.
And is there, I mean, if it's just running and I'm not paying attention and the computer fails or does whatever, fail is perhaps a bad word. Let's just say the computer turns off. Um, is there a message that will be sent before that? I mean, using perhaps the Nina identifier, email system. I forgot what it's called.
Oh, yeah. So if we detect if we lose connection to the computer, then we will notify the appropriate people that it's not working. And we'll also try to restart it.
So you'll get a signal.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, it sounds like you've got the electronic failure part of this covered. I don't want to interrupt any more than I have to, but I've got yet another question.
Ask away.
All right. So, on your PowerPoint, you said that something about, and I can't remember what it said, but it said something about no need to do a sequence.
Oh, yep.
Sequencer will be used. So does that mean that I just tell you, all right, image the helix. I want, 60-second subs and, give me as many subs as I can get for my 3 or 4 hour time allocation. I just
So
give that to you and you program it or
no,
how?
no. When you get on the scheduling system, one of the things you'll be doing is you'll wind up going, there'll be a link that takes you to Telescopius.
Okay.
I can walk you through this. Okay, so when I'm in Telescopius, I can say I want to do the helix. And then it brings it up to the frame, it's framing wizard. Okay. Then, and you'll only be able to frame at one point. I mean, it's a Raza and the camera's on in one position and that's it. So you'll know what that rotation angle is, but for the sake of argument, this is rotation angle and this is not the Raza. So we'll go to the Raza, select camera. Okay, so that's the framing, right? And then I got, so, that's what I want to do. So you'll be able to download the CSV. That CSV, you'll go to a page in the scheduling system that will be imported into Nina. And then you'll also tell Nina, how many exposures I might want and your exposure time. And that's all you're going to need to do. And then it will plug it into Nina and at the appropriate time, kick off your capture.
So I download that and then I import that into Nina. And then I should be able to, in Nina, then use whatever, if it's got a smart
Well,
exposure.
you won't even get, Stephen, you won't even get into Nina.
Oh, well, how will I input how long I want the exposures to be?
On the scheduling page, you'll be asked, please give me my CSV how many images do you want? What temperature do you want it? How long do you want the images? And bin if you want to change the bin.
Okay.
And
So
that,
Steve, you plan it in Telescopius, and then everything downstream of that is automated.
yes. And I'm working with the developer and Telescopius to provide a direct interface from Telescopius into our tooling. He is very happy to help us. He sees opportunity for that for other things. So
Hey,
He's a
Robert,
very good guy. I've dealt with him a few times.
yeah.
I just
So
thought of something when you mentioned temperature. That might be another thing you want to do guidelines on, or I don't know if there your safeguards. I mean, someone says, "Yeah, I want it 20 below." I mean, it will not get to 20 below in the summer, but you don't want the thing running at 100% either. So
yeah, I think what we're thinking about doing, and Jim McCatherine is helping along with this. So we have a weather station, so we know how hot it is outside. So if it's, let's say if it's below 40, yeah, maybe we'll try -10. If it's 40 to 70, maybe we'll do -5. And if it's above 70, then we'll do 0. So
okay,
we're
yeah,
trying to take the thinking, we're trying to mitigate the risk that you're talking about, Jim. Yeah, we definitely don't want these fans running, full tilt.
yeah, for all
And
night.
yeah, and for one thing, when it's super hot outside, we'll never get the -20. So those are, and that, if you guys have thoughts along those lines, I'm all ears. We're trying to figure that out.
Yeah, there's so many
I
things to
would have
think
a
about.
drop down that just said, three different temperatures maybe. Because remember,
Yeah, it
every
was.
temperature we allow, we have to have darks for. So limit it as much as possible. I don't think anybody has any problem imaging at 0. Well, on the 183, it's different. On modern sensors, I image at 0 all the time and just don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I set mine at 0 in the summer. I don't try to go any lower.
yeah, and that's what I do. But if we don't have a drop down and we use some smarts and say, well, the temperature range is this. This is what the sensor temperature is going to be. Creating darks once or twice a year, who cares? Same thing with the flats, right?
Well, the darks just need to match the temperature of the lights you're using. So you're going to have them for
Yeah.
whatever temperature range people are looking for. Most likely 0, obviously, and then maybe -10. But I've never gotten my telescope at -20 unless it was a very cold day in the winter.
Or you're in Gunnison, Colorado.
Well, that's, yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
I image,
Chris gets
I,
-20.
yeah, I do -20 in the winter here, and then I at 0. I mean, why not make it easy on ourselves? Just set it at 0 and let's leave it there.
Yeah.
Don't give people a choice.
I don't have a problem with that, other than I don't want, I'm concerned about people complaining about not being able to get it below 0, but
Well,
yeah.
they can complain all they like.
Yeah, a good
If they
point.
want to come and
Yeah.
help to manage it. I mean, Bob, this is a lot of work to write an operating procedure. Plus, you need to write down like some sort of system description. What if you got run over by a bus tomorrow? Heaven forbid. Um, you know, that's a lot of work. Who's helping you do all that, Bob?
It's me, Peter T. Harina, and
Peter?
yeah,
Oh yeah, he's good.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
I
and
would say
Peter?
maybe early on just set it at 0 and do some darks on
Okay.
0, and then we can always
Right,
expand it. But
right. I think you need more people on it, Bob. I mean, you and Peter have really great team, but I mean, it takes it's a huge effort to document it all and make sure that we got an operating procedure that everybody's happy with and dealing
Well,
with queries and questions and the training. I mean, it's just an enormous amount to do. So, who's sponsoring this on the board?
who's sponsoring it on the board?
Yeah.
Your fundraiser.
Yeah. All right. I got the answer to that then. Okay.
So,
I'll go back on mute now.
I mean, the whole board's, it's not one individual person on the board. The whole board's behind the
Yeah, I
project.
understand that. That you really need somebody to go to the populace of the club and get even more people who are engineers.
I am, what this is, my expectation actually is that we're gonna get this going. And then some younger person who's real slick with websites and stuff like this is gonna say, that is a piece of crap.
You,
And give me 2 weeks and I'll have it much better. And it'll be like, knock yourself out.
I really hope that happens, but I have to tell you now a story. My wife used to come to the general meetings, and her observation was you got to be over 55 to join this club because everybody in the room, look around you, well, apart from Richard, everybody has a grey beard. You know,
Well, I
Oh,
Glenn is young. Glenn's a young.
No, I'm not any younger than the number he just said. So
Chris, I don't have a gray beard because I keep it cut off.
right?
smart,
Very
Richard,
wise,
smart.
Richard. Takes a decade off your age, I'm sure.
yeah.
And I don't have a hair issue because I don't have hair, so I'm way ahead of the game.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, the best help we can get right now is your input. Um, uh, so
I think the APSIG as a group, it's our job to help you, Bob, and help you write, or even just not even write, but maybe review both the operating system, the operating procedure for it, the training,
wait a minute.
and some
I
sort of
heard you say right. I
yeah.
heard you say right, and you're an engineer. You're on the team.
Well, of course.
I
You
can.
know, I've been trying to write the documentation for the GVO, that's the Gunnison Valley Observatory. This is a 30-inch mirror with a focal length of 6.8 meters, built in 2008. And not what nobody, there's no system description, there's no guide to how to operate it. It's all handed down knowledge, and over the years, people have forgotten how to do stuff. And so right now, you can't steer it in north direction. You can steer it in every other direction, but not north. And I've been trying to help debug it, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is if somebody had written it down at the beginning, we'd be in much better shape. I'm having to open up computers and open up thing and go, okay, what is this? It's some sort of, ancient circuit board that drives a stepper motor controller, which then drives these motors. And why is it not working? You
Have you ever
uh,
seen the movie Space Cowboy?
oh,
Yeah.
Great movie.
maybe.
Space Cowboy. Who was in that? Tommy Lee Jones,
Tommy Lee
Oh,
Jones,
yes.
Donald Sutherland, uh,
James Garner.
Clint Eastwood. Clint
Clint
Eastwood.
Eastwood, wasn't it? Wasn't
Yeah,
Eastwood
Yeah.
one of them?
Eastwood.
Clint
Yeah.
Eastwood was one of them.
Clint Eastwood.
And same kind of story there. They didn't have no one knew how the operation system worked, so they had to send up Team Dateless, and they were all older gentlemen, not unlike the people
Right.
in the APSIG group. Anyway, so all right. Sorry to digress. I know copyright law, so I can definitely help with that. Otherwise, that's about all I can do. All right. So Bob, you're still screen sharing. Could you um, uh, could could you put your spread your PowerPoint back on for just a
Oh,
moment?
sure.
Don't mind. I think maybe there was one other question I had, maybe not. I just can't remember because I'm getting too old for this.
Don't admit to that. No.
The last screen or the last slide. Oh, okay, right. All right. I already basically talked about attribution rights. We will have language for people at some point to include if they're going to publish images that will be somewhat similar to what is used if you're publishing images from data from NASA and from or ESA or something else like that. But no, we're lost. Okay, that's all I had. All right, I thought I had another question. I think you answered it. Okay. All right, any other questions from anyone else? If
Just a
not,
little note, I dropped a few screenshots in from my Discord that
okay.
shows my telescope going through a night when it's safe and when it's unsafe. So you can kind of see, Stephen, what notifications you get, but that's all the automated processing is. You can see at one point it's shooting subs, then it goes unsafe and it says it's waiting and pausing. And then as soon as it comes back to being safe again, it starts shooting again. So that's the kind of, you don't see the back end behind it, but you see the notifications of when it's happening, and it'll just sit there and wait until it's safe again. Either the roof closes and the roof opens back again, or it gets too cloudy for me and I tell it to stop shooting, and then it clears up and it starts shooting again. So it's just the notifications on it. Um, and I'm sure Bob will do something like that with the Discord. He talks about Discord notifications. So something along those lines. That's just what I'm doing out of Nina for both of my observatories.
Okay. All right. Um, okay. All right. So, all right, Bob, if nobody else has any questions, if you can go off the screen, the share screen. Um, we're going to have another go at a group project, which will be the Helix. And as soon as it gets high enough in the sky, I'm going to uh, provide some bits images of the Helix. I know Glenn's already started imaging it. Glenn, at about what time is it high enough to image these days?
This was right before dawn. It was like 4:20, 4:30 in the morning when I only got 15 minutes out of it.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to wait a little later in the season to get more time on it, but it's just barely cracking 30 degrees at like 4:30 in the morning.
Right. And that's sort of why we chose this object as the next group project, because we want the Raza to be part of it, the club's Raza, and so that's kind of why we decided this would be it, because we want to give Bob and his team plenty of time to get everything functioning so that when it's ready, we've got the club data, and then we've got data from everybody who volunteers to participate. And then we'll collect all of that data and then put it together in a master for everybody to process. And I still haven't forgotten about the last one we did, which was the antenna. I keep saying yes. Tomorrow, I'm going to get enthusiastic enough to create a you know a voting portal. I'm sure it's going to be either Chris or Jim who win this one, because they both produced outstanding images of the antenna. But whoever wins needs to get that attribution, and then we'll push that out onto Astrobin. Um,
That's right. We did submit images on that, didn't we?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I,
did, but
I was trying to
I,
think, did we do that? I guess we did,
we
yeah.
yeah, we
tried.
did, and it's my bad.
It's okay, Stephen. It's okay.
I've been burned
But
out.
both Jim and I really tried hard to get a good image of that star that's just above it.
Yeah.
Right.
We we struggled with that, and
Yep.
I think when we took the subframes in the first place, it must have been poor seeing because you don't see any diffraction spikes in either of our subframes, and that's usually a sign that the seeing's bad because it gets all muddy.
Yep.
So maybe we want to wait until
Get some more
the
data.
antenna's available again, and just get one night with good seeing, just for that one stupid star.
When, oh yeah, I'll look that up. I'll see when it's coming back. And
Yeah,
then maybe we will. We'll collect more data for it. That's not a bad
yeah,
idea.
and maybe on the helix we can image that right now. I mean, at 2 o'clock it's at 15 degrees altitude. I mean, I'll image at
Some of
15.
us can't get that low, but up there in the mountains, you can look down on it.
Yeah, right. If you've got a Bortle 2 or 3 site, then you can start imaging it. I mean, I image stuff right down to the horizon at Gunnison.
Hmm. All right. Well, that's going to be the next one. I'm working on, in fact, maybe we can use the framing that we have um, from Glenn. Glenn, do you have that handy? I'll make you a host so you can share your screen here. If I can remember how to do this. Participants, and then Glenn, and then the three dots, and then make a co-host. All right, so Glenn, you are now a co-host and you can share screens. And if you want to show everybody what you've got for your framing of the helix. Okay, so let me think about this.
That's
I
very
just put
impressive,
it
by
in
the
the
way.
center. Yeah, I just put it in the center and said go. So I
Right.
didn't,
Because,
but I don't have any rotation control, so that's the rotation I have.
Okay.
right.
Actually, that's pretty good framing because
Fine.
you've got you've got it going where the two sides of the eye, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
are pointed towards the corners, and that may make it just about right for people with the longer focal length um, to take advantage of the framing.
So, Stephen, I mean, I imaged the helix last year, and I got 17 hours of helix data, but it's at a much narrower field of view.
Yeah, I
So,
have some too, and mine's much narrower too. Mine was with a 127.
Yeah.
so then the question is that going to be useful, or do you really want a much wider field of view?
Well, okay, so I've done it with the Red Cat, I've done it with the Raza, and I started doing it with the 127, and I didn't complete it. Uh, so let me think about that. Um, it's uh,
I think 1,000 focal length would be really nice. It'd be closer in than that. But and you can always use that and crop in.
yeah,
Yeah, it depends, But here's one of the things about group projects. It is I think we got to set the field of view rather than say, oh, it's got to be a certain focal length or whatever. Try
right.
to set the field of view and then everybody try to match that with whatever equipment they've got.
So by
I think
field
that's
of
what we've
view, you
always
mean
tried to
the
do.
framing, right?
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah,
not
if we
just,
get the
yeah.
same framing.
Framing to me is like rotation.
Right,
Uh, But field of view dictates your what equipment you're going to use. Now, if you have a narrow field of view, then you can use really wider field of view equipment, knowing that it's going to be cropped down. But if you
right.
set the field of view to say, okay, I want a 2 by 2 two degrees by 2 degrees, then that rules out a lot of my equipment. I don't have the field of view for that, and so I wouldn't be able to participate. If
I
you see what
see.
I mean.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm. Let me take a look at the data that I have for my 127, just because I just don't remember what it looked like with that. I started it but couldn't finish it. Uh, and then
And
I'll.
I can share. I've got mine up on Astrobeam. I can share this very quickly. You
Okay.
see what mine looks like.
Yeah, because like on a 127 with a 2600, the field of view is 1.42 by 0.93 degrees in like 0.82 seconds per pixel.
Yeah. So I think I'm sharing this, am
Yeah,
I? I'll just make it slightly bigger. But this over here on the right tells you 0.46 arc seconds per pixel. It's a 0.83 by 0.64 uh, degrees. Yeah, that's what it says. And I got 17 hours, most of which is narrowband.
is
But
that cropped, Chris?
it is, let's see, where does it say? They changed the format and I can't see where the resolution is.
Probably not crop much.
It's not cropped much. But this is taken with my Celestron, the 9 1/4, 1650 focal length.
Oh, that's probably not cropped at all then.
Yeah, and then I get I get the field of view because I've got a full frame camera. So irritatingly, they don't give you the dimensions of it. Yeah, it doesn't. But I'd have to look it up. But I don't think I cropped it much. Not an awful lot. But see how 17 hours, I'm only just getting this faint hydrogen out on the edge, whereas Glenn's that's taken from Bortle 7, of course, and Glenn's 15 minutes at Bortle 2, whatever Starfront is already better than this image. I was impressed with your image there, Glenn.
That was 3 5-minute subs. I was shocked when I
Yeah,
pulled it in and did a quick process on it.
right. But if you want the detail inside
Yeah.
the nebula, then you need some magnification then. So you've got this now maybe you can have a wider field of view and then just crop it down to this sort of field of view. And on the wide field of view, you can get all your color. And then you'd say to the narrow field of view people, concentrate on detail,
Detail.
concentrate on luminance or and let the wide field of view people get the color information because that can be integrated easily. But what you can't get from the wide field of view is the detail.
Got it. I think that's a good point. So maybe uh, we ask for luminance from the people with the longer focal lengths
Right.
and
Yes, exactly.
say for you all, if you've got 500 or above, just to pick a number, concentrate on getting luminance. Uh,
Then you go for subframe scale. If you've got a
right.
certain subframe scale,
Yeah.
go
Yeah,
for
that works.
And then you go anybody with 500 or less, you know,
color.
get us RGB, HA, and
RGB.
O3.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, I think that's the way to go.
Good, because that's the plan I already have into a task scheduler. I've got
All right.
both of my observatories running that. So from home, Bortle 5, I'll be shooting at 500 millimeters, and I'm going to concentrate only on HA and O3. But I'll get all the RGB out from Starfront, so we'll have some rich color with this
Right,
wide field.
right.
Okay.
I'll be interested to. I mean, I'll have a go. I'll get my Celestron scope out, and I'm not using it right now. Have got it with me though, so I'll be interested to see from here, which is pretty much Portal 3. Um, whether I can get a lot more of that faint nebulosity that's on beyond the edge of the main eye.
The only other comment I'll make is I need your calibration data in FITS files, or if it's a master in an IXS, excuse me, IX,
XISF.
that,
XIF, yeah,
XIF,
whatever.
that one.
I've got the masters already built for that, so that's not a problem.
Okay, great. Otherwise, I think, we've got a very good working plan for our next group project, and this should be great fun.
All right.
All right, we're coming up on 8:30. Why don't we now change over to troubleshooting, requests for equipment help. I promise I won't monopolize this by telling you all of my woes with getting my plane wave operating.
You
Are you
got full
there?
flight though. I saw it.
What now? Oh yeah. So I finally got a relatively windless dark night 2 nights ago, June 30th. And so I wheeled it out because I don't have my wind tent constructed yet. And I just put the one-shot color on it. And uh, after I remembered to take, and I forgot who it was that made this comment, after I remembered to take the cover off of the telescope, after I remembered to do that, getting it in focus was very easy, but I was struggling. It's like, why can't, it's not seeing any stars. What's wrong? I can't, what's wrong? And then it's like, oh, dummy, take the cover off. And then I take the
I think
cover
we've
off.
all done that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I got to tell you, it's like, what am I doing wrong here? And then it was easy. It focused within just a couple minutes, and I was able to collect, um, a little bit of data before it started getting a little bit cloudy and a little bit windier. So I just closed everything down and wheeled it back in. But I'm in the process of building a wind tent for it. And after I get the wind tent constructed and it's going to be portable, and then I'll be able to, really concentrate on getting a lot more data. But that's working. And many thanks to Glenn for helping me with that, and to Bob for his constantly making himself available when I've got uh, questions regarding Nina. So anybody else though got troubleshooting questions they want to ask the group?
I've got something I'd like to share. If I
Oh,
could, I'll
great.
share my screen again.
Yes, please go
So
right ahead.
just as before I share, I was having a little dialogue with Adam Block. I think most of you know who Adam Block is, right? And
Yes.
I
Oh yeah.
follow him on Astrobin, and he put a scope out at the El Sorce Observatory out in Chile. So he's been working with that, getting images out, and he posted an image, and I was a little bit surprised about it, or at least I was curious. So here's let me show my screen again and share, and I just made it bigger. Here's his image.
This is for education purposes and therefore not a
Yes,
copyright violation.
this right, and this is my question. You see my question over here. So I congratulate him on the image. And if I scoot up to the top, you'll see right at the top of these comments above there. Look at his subframe scale, 0.21 arc seconds per pixel, right? And as you know, most of you are probably aware, I've been unhappy with my Celestron 9 1/4, and my images from it aren't much better than the images I get with my ASCAR 130. And so And what I think I've determined is it's seeing conditions. So then I ask him, okay, so what seeing are you getting at El Source? Here's my context. And you'll understand this, Stephen. I was doing the Nico Carver challenge, and I decided to image the Rho Ophiuchi Nebula, right, which is blue. The challenge was to
Right.
image
Right.
something blue,
You've got that the
right?
blue arc. The I know
Yeah.
what you mean. Right.
So, so here's the problem. I mean, I'm looking up in the sky, and I can see the stars twinkling really bad, more twinkling than I've ever seen here. And sure enough, when I looked at the data that I'd got, my seeing was 5 arc seconds. Normally, I'm seeing about 2.5 arc seconds here. Um, and because I'm imaging at a scale of 1.1 arc seconds per pixel, I'm now oversampling my target massively because the smallest thing I can actually determine and see is going to be 5 arc seconds, right? That's the size of your star, right? So here's his reply, which is sort of interesting, and it really affects anybody with a long focal length scope. And basically says he thinks 1.2 to 1.5 seconds. That's his forwards half maximum. That's his seeing conditions in Chile, which is pretty bloody good. I mean, we'll never see that here or in Fort Worth. But then he goes on to talk about it, and he uses binning. I ask him, "Oh, have you considered binning?" And binning, the advantage of binning is you you get a better signal to noise ratio, and that's the main benefit. And if you're oversampling heavily, then there's no reason not to do it, right? And he gives advice. You see, he actually did this at 0.32 arc seconds per pixel, and then he upsampled it a bit. But here's his rule of thumb. You want your stars to be 3 to 4 pixels in size. So if you take your your subprime scale, multiply by 4, that's the seeing that you want. And so I'd been imaging with my Celestron 9 1/4 at 2,350 millimeter focal length, which is a subframe scale of 0.31 arc seconds per pixel. If I multiply that number by 4, then it's no good. I mean, I'm wasting my time imaging at that focal length without binning because I'm never going to see 1.3 seeing, if you see what I mean. The best seeing I'm going to get here, typically get, is 2.5, right? So in my case, what I've determined is binning at bin 2
Aha.
is really what I should be doing with when I'm imaging at 2,350 millimeters focal length. And I'll get a better image because you improve your signal to noise ratio. Yes, you've halved your resolution, but it doesn't matter because you can't achieve that resolution at that subframe scale anyway because of the seeing. So that
Hey,
that was what I wanted to share.
hey, Chris, do
Yeah,
you follow Gary M?
I do.
Yeah, he's one you ought to run by questions too, because he does a lot of images with an 11-inch Celestron, and I think
I know.
he does
Yeah.
it at the full focal length. So I don't
But
I
I think he's
I have to
wasting
check
his
his
time.
images and see if he bends. He probably mentions that if he does.
Hey, he's got
Yeah.
I think you're thinking he's got a Raza 11.
Well, he also has 11. He also has a Celestron 11. He has an Edge. He has an 11-inch Edge. His galaxies are normally his Edge, and his
Right.
wide ones are his 11-inch Raza. He uses
Ah,
both.
okay. All right. I knew about the Raza 11. I didn't know about the other one.
Yeah, no, I mean he gets some. He did one the other day. It was amazing. I mean, it's a image that very few people do, and it was funny because I commented. I said, "Well, that's the first time I've ever seen an 11-inch Edge image look like it was a wide field of view picture because it was almost like doing you do Mercurian's chain with a 11-inch and still gonna look, but he went real deep. Found he gets a lot of targets that a lot of people don't image, but." It's a cool image that he took.
Yeah, his Dark Nebula library is just fantastic.
His whole yeah, it's amazing how much time he puts in it.
He's so prolific though. I mean, he's putting out 3 images a day. I don't know how
He
he does
does,
it.
and because he'll only do 3 hours, which is crazy, and how good at images he gets.
Yeah, yeah, it
And
is.
he's in
It
the
is.
Houston area, isn't he?
Yeah, he actually this one that he took the real small galaxy that he actually took 6 hours. I almost gave him a hard time. Oh wow, Gary, you doubled your time, buddy.
Ha,
Yeah.
okay.
Anyway, that was it.
That's an
Any
excellent
questions?
point,
Yeah.
Christopher, because I've been thinking about doing two by two binning for the plane wave, and now I'm definitely going
I
to
think you
test
should.
that.
I
Yeah,
think
so
you should.
what's your focal length going to be?
It's 2,500 and something.
Yeah, that is pretty high.
What's your
Get
subframe
12 and a
setup?
half.
I'd have to go back and um, look at my Excel spreadsheet. Obviously, I'm using the actually, I most recently I've been using the 2600 MC Duo, but the in the end, the final product is going to be uh, the what's it called?
Poseidon.
The Player One Poseidon. And I don't have those calculations off the top of my head, but it's similar to
Yeah, it's a 571. It's the same thing as in the Duo.
so
Same chip.
Okay.
it's the same
Size 3.76 micron.
sensor,
Yeah.
3.76.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Then you'll be around just under zero point 0.3 arc seconds per pixel.
Hey
Which,
guys, I've got to drop for a work thing.
oh, okay.
Okay.
See you, Bob.
Hey, Robert.
See ya. Good
Thanks,
meeting.
Robert. All
I
right.
think I changed my name to Astro Geek. Somebody said I was a geek, and that is the highest accolade. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, you're welcome.
My comment was I learned
Hey, you
something
called
every time
yourself a
you said
nerd, so I can call you a geek.
Nerd or geek is they're synonymous.
We're all hey, we're at this meeting. We're all nerds.
All right. Okay. Well, that was very informative. Anybody else got any trouble shooting, equipment issues, that kind of thing? All
I
right.
got one supplementary. So Dr. Taylor, she's part of a sort of network-wide group of astronomers studying exoplanets, and she has C14, and she's using that every day. They're imaging some star, looking for variations of brightness. Um, but she uses on that the C14. She uses bin 4 exclusively. Doesn't
Wow.
do others. Doesn't use anything else. So FYI, binning is very popular with long focal length scopes.
Wow. And she's looking for exoplanets.
Yeah, so they I don't know how it's all organized. I got to talk to her. I'm going to see if I can get her to do a presentation to the Fort Worth Astronomical Society.
Oh,
And
speaking of which, I've got something as soon as you're done. Go ahead.
yeah, anyway, she does a very interesting talk, but it's a public talk, so it's aimed at people who don't know the first thing about it. So she might have to modify it a little bit for us. But yeah, she points a scope at a star and then gets the data. They study it for variations in luminosity or brightness. And I mean, it's only like 5%, but you could see this dip, and there's some complicated algorithmic stuff where they subtract all the seeing conditions and atmospheric distortion, all the rest of it. And then you've got your answer. And if it dips by 5%, then it's a candidate for the James Webb Space Telescope to go and look for exoplanet.
Oh, cool.
Very cool.
Uh, so her presentation is very interesting. It explains why they don't look at the big stars, the big blue stars, because they don't have a lifetime. These big stars burn out quickly. And so she explains, what star types they actually concentrate on. And it's
Sure.
mostly G class and K class stars is what they're looking at. But it's an interesting presentation. I'll see if I can persuade her to put it together for us.
We
Good.
need to,
Good. Well, I have a similar announcement, only mine's a little more concrete. I need to get in touch with our new vice president to get him on the schedule. Is Dr. Avi Loeb from Harvard? He's the head of the Harvard physics department, I guess. And he's the one who he cuts against the grain on exploration of well, he's of the position, for example, that the oh, what's the name of it? The OUAMA Oumuamua, is that it? That went through our, I can't pronounce it. The Oumuamua
Go with that, Stephen. That's okay.
uh, uh, rock that went through our solar system and left accelerate at an accelerating speed. His theory is that it is not of natural origin. And he has debunked every physicist's theory on what it is composed of and how it could have left our solar system accelerating. Uh, and and basically, he is convinced it is of extraterrestrial origin. He also believes that Dr. Levin, who worked with NASA in the 1970s, that his experiments proved that we actually did find microbial life on Mars. He was also the head of a project that recently excavated areas of the Gulf and filtered out looking for pieces, fragments of a recent meteoroid that landed and exploded and scattered across the Gulf, and collected and did in fact find fragments of that meteoroid. And it's of a because of the way that it exploded. He had a theory that it was not of natural origin, and sure enough, the analysis he's conducted of the substance tends to be consistent with something that is not naturally occurring. So I've been chatting with him a little bit about a couple of papers that he's written. I just ask him questions every now and then. Say, okay, I've read this paper. What do you think of this? And how did you come up with this calculation? Because I'm viewing these things from, a history sociology background, and I've developed a little bit of a friendship with him. And so I invited him to talk about his view of specifically Dr. Levin's research and Dr. Levin's participation with NASA in the Viking probes that went to Mars. And he's convinced that Dr. Levin had it correct, that he did in fact find life on Mars. And he's going to comment on that and some other topics. So that will be coming soon. So I think you'll find it very interesting what Avi Loeb has to say about all of that. He's highly controversial. A lot of people disagree with him, but his credentials speak for themselves. His he's a prolific author, and except on this one topic, very few people would ever question his analysis. But because his conclusions are that Oumuamua, however it's pronounced, is not of natural origin, and because of his support of Dr. Levin's position and the recent expedition he was on and led, which collected samples in the Gulf, all are consistent with his theory that we are not alone. So I think that'll be a very interesting club meeting. You may or may not agree with his conclusions, and that's okay. But his conclusions are very well thought out. I will say that, even if they're controversial. Okay. If there's nothing else, it looks like it's about 8:45. I was gonna try to get our meeting concluded relatively early, and that's probably a good time to cut things off for today. Let everybody get back to celebrating the holiday. Our victory over the United Kingdom and the tyrannistic king who
Third.
the victory over tyranny, which we are celebrating.
Oh, I celebrate it. I would like to just to remind everybody I am a US citizen. Just before you
Yes.
say anything.
Don't let the British accent fool
Don't let it fool you.
He
Well,
is an American. All right.
But
Okay.
his mum is still in
I've picked,
England.
I have picked up a few American idiosyncratic sayings. You bet, for instance.
All right. Well,
Y'all,
Hey, Chris, quick question to you. I know you like to visit the Royal Observatory
yeah.
and stand on the prime meridian. I read something that actually isn't the prime meridian.
Ah,
That they've
well,
actually figured it's like 100 yards or 200 yards to the
right.
blank field. Is that correct?
That would
math
not
error.
surprise me. I hadn't read that, but there are a number of meridians there, and they're actually, this is another one that's in use for some of the maps that the UK uses. But anyway, you're saying they calculated it incorrectly?
Yeah,
I didn't.
they actually.
It could be, you know.
Just curious. All
It's a math error. Okay.
right.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for a very entertaining and productive meeting today.
Even,
We'll talk to you again soon.
See you guys. Bye.
All right.
yeah.
Bye-bye.
Right. Yeah.